project from the district side. There was teachers, administrators, community members. Wear these hats, whether you're a community member or not. Think about what's really important to community member for Bend, the Reimagine Bend High, as a student and as staff. And you can see some of the results that still resonate today with the team. From that, we created a vision statement that was what we based our campus plan on. It still is true today in all the work that we're doing. So I'll let you read this. I'm not going to read through this, but this is sort of the rails. This statement sort of keeps us in the rails. We're always checking these internally, but also as a team that's working on it. We had some great sessions back in, I think this was 2019, maybe late 2018. We began asking the students, and we just used the word hate and love. It was easy to ask those questions, and we had great participation, and you can begin to see some of those issues that they had, but also the things they love. And I think you'll really see this in the design when we show it to you a little bit later. We also had the community. We've had Weatherman Bob, who now is retired, obviously, but he was part of this, some other key community members. We had a session with them. We showed them all our campus plans. We had come up with several options, and we asked them what was important to them. And these are some highlights of that conversation that we had. When we began the campus plan, actually really starting to develop some diagrams that this could be, we knew there were three things that had to stay: the football field, the theater and production kitchen, and the tech center. And you can see those are highlighted. I think you probably can ground yourself. North is up on this, Ninth is on the right, and 6 is on the left over there by that tennis courts. And then we began doing a lot of diagramming and looking at what would the new, when we're all done, what the new campus could look like in a site plan. And these are hard to read. I'm not really going to go through these in detail, but back in 2018, 2019, we came up with a whole bunch of ideas. And these were not just us as architects, it was the whole group. We had cutouts and we played with them, and everyone sort of said, let's try this, let's try that. It really helped because the scale is so hard to imagine if you're not an architect. So it really helped that. And we came up with all these options and voted on them, and the top one was called a campus plan. So this is the final campus plan, but hold on, this isn't final, because it's going to change. But in 2019, the idea was we went to go visit a school in Snohomish that the whole team did. And we went on several tours, but this one really resonated because it was a very similar school, had a lot of history, had older buildings on it, had a culture that was super strong, and they really wanted this individual campus plan that you can see in this picture where it feels a little bit more collegiate? That didn't come out right, but a little more individual buildings, but feel very secure and safe. And so that actually led us to this campus plan that I'm not going to spend much time because it's morphed as we began 3 years later, several years later, actually 5 years later. This is, so we also, the other thing we did at this time as that began is we realized we were hired then after that to begin the Robert Maxwell Center. And the first thing was to begin before the campus planning was all done, and as we began thinking about the design of the Maxwell, we wanted to sort of get a feel of what the look and feel of the campus wanted to be. And classic but modern red brick with wood was really important, and these are just pictures of schools around mainly the Northwest. The big one on the top left is Central Catholic in Portland, if you're curious about that. Whoops. Oh, there we go. So we started the Maxwell Center, and there was some displacement of some facilities, and you already know about the Maxwell, so I'll probably go through this pretty fast, but we had to demolish part of it. Okay, why is it not going forward? Oh, all right. Come on, one more. It's thinking. I see the spin up there. Well, maybe I'll just keep on talking. So through all that, we designed and we started off with the Maxwell Center, which was the beginning of the campus plan. And now poor Kyle's going to be stuck with this leg. And I just fast forwarded past the pictures of Maxwell, but I think you know what it looks like. So we fast forward. Here we go. 4+ years, and the bonds passed, and we got hired to do the rest, and now we're going to talk a little bit more about that, and Kyle's going to have the pleasure to do that.
We'll see if I have any better luck. Okay, so fast forwarding now, after we completed the Maxwell Center, BVT was hired again to continue the work for the new Bend Senior High School. So, oh nice. So the first thing that we did as a group is we came together with the staff, the community, and students, and we took a second look at the campus plan to make sure that we had the right direction before we jumped in and started the project. So earlier this year, we re-looked at the campus plan, and from these sessions, a couple of major issues and concerns kind of floated to the top. And a couple of those were security of the courtyard, the amount of exterior space, lack of internal connections throughout the school, the separation distance of the programs, and building support access from a delivery standpoint. So what we did is we took all of those comments and we kind of filtered them in, and we took a second look at this campus plan. And what we ended up doing is coming up with a revised building plan. From a high level, you can see what the major move is, that we took the commons and we bridged it across the campus from east to west. So we have now connected all of the buildings, so you can internally now pass through all the buildings. And instead of 4 separate buildings, it's kind of an H shape, and we have 2, but we still maintain our 2 major courtyards to the north and south. And we'll see more of that in just a moment. From a very high level, I won't dive into all the individual programs here, but from a high level, starting with the part to remain, the existing theater in the top left of this image is to remain. There will be some renovations that happen in the theater to bring it up to ADA and do some finish upgrades. In the bottom left-hand corner, we have the existing Maxwell Center. And on the right-hand side, so starting at the bottom right-hand corner, we've got a 3-story classroom wing. So that is where most of the classrooms in this building are located. Moving to the top of the image, we have the athletics in the top right-hand corner. So this is our gym, our auxiliary gym, the fitness and the weight room, and we also have health classrooms up there. And then working our way to the middle, we have 2 admins that bookend either end of the commons, and that is the commons that crosses across the building, and those are our points of entry. On the right-hand side, which is on, we'll look at a site plan in a second, but that is on the east side, or 9th Street. That is our primary entry to the building, right where it says main entry. So these are some images that we've been looking at in terms of what the look and the feel of that commons is going to be, and that's really important to us, that there's lots of natural daylight and access to the courtyards, which were our biggest feedback points that we got from the student group. So even though we are making a physical connection between these buildings, we're trying to honor the fact that the biggest feedback we heard was we want lots of natural daylight and we want access to the outdoors for the students. And again, those courtyards are within the secure perimeter of the fencing. So that is still within the school itself. Looking at these courtyards, you might recognize some of these images from before as our precedent imagery, or images that some of the staff and students were drawn to. Really, we're looking at these 2 courtyards breaking down into a learning courtyard to the south, and that has more of a connection to the classroom wing. And then to the north, we have what we're calling an activity courtyard. And again, we're still really early on in the design, but we're imagining that this can be a space that is activated by the weight room, potentially with roll-up doors and the ability to have students go out there to, do physical fitness outside. There'll also be a connection to the theater on the west, so there's lots of potential for that space to have lots of uses throughout the day. This is a high-level view of the campus plan. So for our extents, on the very far left of the image is 6th Street, and on the very far right is 9th Street. So as you can see, we're still retaining the football field is in its original location, the theater is in its original location, but where the existing campus had most of its parking to the north, we now have parking on the east and the west side of the campus. The majority of our parking is on the east side of the campus on 9th Street. And as a reminder, again, that is the main entry of the campus. Some other things to note, there is a practice field just above the parking on the east side of the campus. The football field is exactly where it was. There's baseball, which is just to the north of the theater, and softball in roughly its existing location, as well as the tennis courts roughly in their existing location. And I believe there is also currently a volleyball court that is shown kind of in that trapezoidal shape. So this school is going to be active throughout, is going to be used throughout construction. So our team is looking at phasing the project into, currently we are looking at 3 phases. Again, this is very rough and we are still sorting out, especially as we look down into phase 2 and 3, we are still working with with KNCC, who's our construction partner, on how best to do this. But phase 1, it would be the first phase of construction, so that would start, is slated to start next summer with the demolition of the existing school in the area of that, the blue classroom wing. And the idea here is to build the classroom wing and the commons first so that we can get as many classrooms in phase 1 as possible. In phase 2, we have the athletic wing, and then phase 3 would be the addition of new art spaces, be band, choir, and art, and also the renovation of the existing theater and the existing production kitchen. Lastly, I've already run through the first floor plan, but we will take a look at the second floor plan. So this is moving on up to the second floor. We still have classrooms, again, on all 3 floors. On our south classroom wing, we have our auxiliary gym in the athletics portion to the north. And our library is located on the west side of the commons on the second floor. We're really hoping for we're gonna have some great mountain views out that way. And we also have the second floor of the theater. Lastly, looking at the third floor, this is the third floor of the classroom wing, and this is where the science classrooms would be located. Okay, here is the latest kind of sneak peek at the exterior rendering of what we're looking at. And to keep in mind, we are about a little past halfway through schematic design, so we are still really just getting into trying to define our roof shapes, the volumes of our buildings. We know that it wants to have a lot of the same materiality as Maxwell, the Robert D. Maxwell Center. So we've been following that lead, but you can see we're using some sloped roofs, lots of brick and glass, and you can see the main entry is that glass piece between the classroom wing and the gym building. And this would be if you were standing on 9th Street looking to the west. This would be if you were standing really at the entry to the CTE building on the south side of the campus looking to the north. So you can see on the left-hand side of the image is the Robert D. Maxwell Center, which is built, and on the right-hand side would be our new classroom building. And straight in front of us is that glassy commons, which we are hoping that is going to give the appearance of being really transparent and seeing right through to the north courtyard. Lastly, this is an aerial view, so we are floating above the football feet at maybe 400 feet and looking back down on the campus. So here you can start to see trees and plantings in that north courtyard. You can see a new theater entry to the top right hand of the image, and you can see how that glassy commons connects across the campus from east to west. Are there any questions at this point?
Quick, oh,
Oh, go ahead.
okay. I have a quick question. Well, first, thank you. This is really helpful and this is so exciting. Lots of great changes. I am curious about the location choice with regard to daycare, and I didn't actually see an outdoor space connected directly to daycare. I just see the parking lot and a little green space.
We'll see if we can. It might not actually be called out on these high-level plans, but it is located at the end of the classroom wing, and there will be direct access to a playground space adjacent to it. It is, oh, it is on there.
Yeah, I was gonna go to this, I was gonna go to the site plan, maybe that would help us.
Yeah.
Just bear with us with the leg here. I get the leg. You
Yeah.
didn't have any leg. How'd that work? So
Got
it's,
the magic touch.
it's right. Here is outdoor. Mhm.
My question is if at some point these same plans are going to go have a chance for Chris Boyd to maybe look at them. I'm just curious on that, on the two admins on either corner and then where the fencing meets the building, whether the challenges that we're having currently at Caldera are being taken into effect with this, or taking into account in this design.
Chris Boyd has been heavily involved in this design process, and we actually started the design with lessons learned from some of the other schools that we've had some struggles with. So I don't know that Chris currently has any concerns with the way this is laid out.
Part of the concerns that, Good evening. Part of the concerns that we heard from Chris really revolved around staffing. And because he wasn't fully at capacity with grades 9 through 12, the staffing was a little bit down. So we are fully staffed and we have no concerns on the design right now in regards to the two admin entrances.
And then with the two courtyards for those both open and are within the fenced. So the only exterior access that the kids can use are the ones that go in and out of the two ends of the commons, is that right? That go outside of the fenced area?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, otherwise they're in the perimeter fencing.
I have a question about, can you talk a little bit about the planning for the restrooms? Because right now they're, yeah.
Yeah, like Kyle mentioned, we're about at the 50% schematic design phase. We know that we have some design work that we need to do there, and we're currently collecting information on that, and it'll be refined as we work our way through schematic design. Any other questions?
It's
Concerns?
gorgeous.
Yes, we're very excited. It's been a lot of hours, a lot of meetings, and a lot of well, I wouldn't say on the fly, well thought out changes that were actually resulted from the meetings that BBT did with both public, staff, and students, and feedback from teachers. So at this point, we feel like, I'm going to speak for everybody, we feel like we have a fairly well-vetted campus plan.
I have one other question, and I can't find it. It was the one with the Post-its. That slide. Oh, yeah, here. With the hate and the love, and then prior to that, I think it was. So breaking it down between community, students, staff, I was curious, maybe some comments, I'm not sure who to ask, but to speak to with, and I don't know if this is a number of comments in parentheses or the number of groups who touched on it. Going back to the restroom question, there was one for staff, one for bathrooms, and I was curious about if there are any that jump out specifically with community student staff, any that come to mind of beyond just what's on the Post-its that somebody could address? Things that stood out to you.
Unfortunately, it's like 5 years ago, so I'm not sure what they all are, but these were the top ones that definitely came to mind. When we do that process, we give everyone a note card, and the room was flooded with them in all the sessions we had. And then we asked everyone to vote, and those are the ones that sort of came to the top. So unfortunately, I can't remember. Deputy Superintendent Laura, do you remember any of those by any chance? When we did the community staff and student questions, I think that's your question, Director Fisher?
Yeah, and I guess I was just wondering what the number in parentheses, does that mean only one staff member had concern about ease of supervision and only,
Go back to that.
3 students had concern about parking out of this focus group or this task force?
That's correct. I can.
Okay.
Thank you.
I guess just one quick question. This is so exciting. As a Bend High grad, I have goosebumps. It should be done just in time for my kids. How do you, I guess one question is, I remember with the Caldera process, I think at about this point, we had to start cutting. So I'm hoping that what you're showing us, that we can actually afford all that glass and whatnot. But then also, just how do you plan for a project that's so far out around increasing costs and increasing interest rates? And I'm sure you do very savvy, estimates, but just want to make sure that we feel good that we'll be able to actually accomplish all this.
Yeah, it's actually a great question, and it is a very challenging task for everybody on the team. Obviously, we have a budget that we're currently working towards through schematic design, design development, and then construction. Each one of those has check-ins. And so when we get to the end of schematic design, we'll be doing a fairly extensive cost estimating of what that design currently looks like. At that point, we'll know kind of where we sit.
I'm going to add one thing to that, Doug. One of the reasons we decided, this is a really complicated project because by the time we first put a shovel in the ground to the time that we probably are done with the last aspect of this, we're probably talking 5 years, 3 phases, 5 years. And it's going to be a challenge. And so one of the things that we did actively to help manage and mitigate that was to use the CMGC model. Rather than doing a design bid build model, because we needed someone there to help us as we're making decisions during design, what's going to be the most affordable as we try to manage that. And I think that's a smart move, and I think it was the good decision for the way that we're procedurally going forward. So we have a lot more collaborative dialogue around how we get there. And so just like you, we want to get to the place when it comes time to talk about glass in the middle of those courtyards, to be able to have all those decisions still be within budget. And so I think we're past halfway now on design, right? So now as we start to narrow into 100% schematic design, we start to get a real picture of costs. And then, right now interest rates might be a little bit in our favor because we've got some of our money we've pulled out and we're going to be drawing on that. And so how that all comes together it's still a 5-year process, but I feel like we're staged as well as we can be. And there's going to come a point where we have to make decisions about what's going in and what's not going in. But it hasn't been happenstance, and they've been great partners. Kirby-Nagel has been, they have not shied away from telling us that's going to be expensive. And so we work through those conversations as I don't know, I don't even know how many meetings we've had, but that is top of mind on every single decision we make.
I just wanted to add something about the CMGC process because I've been involved in design for a number of projects for the district. This is the first time that I've been involved in a CMGC process. And given the complexity, as Steve talked about, 5 years, we're operating the school the entire time over 5 years. And I know the team from Kirby Nagelhout who have been at our meetings watching and talking about how we're going to stage this. And I don't know how we can do that without that. So they have been just invaluable in helping us think about how do we continue to operate school with as little disruption as possible. Obviously, it's going to be hugely disruptive, but the whole first phase, it doesn't impact most of the existing buildings. So there will only be a few classrooms. Now, you're going to have construction equipment on site, you're going to have parking impact, lots of other things, but just even looking at that has been really, really helpful.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
All right, we will now go into item number 10. A, which is board policies in review. CBC, well, let me back up a second. Superintendent Cook and I met and really looked at a couple of different things. And then I also met with the Oregon School Boards Association to talk about operational guidelines for the school board and the superintendent and how we work together and what policies we had and what policies we did not have. And the first thing that came out was that the board staff linkage that we thought was the policy, the operating agreement, if you will, between the school board and the superintendent really was just superintendent evaluation. So this is kind of step one of 2 steps. This first step is to have a single document that captures the supervision and evaluation of the superintendent. And so we've moved the relevant pieces from that monitoring piece that was supposed to be the linkage, and we've put it into a single document that covers supervision and evaluation of the superintendent. So we've updated the language, we've updated the process, and combined those 2. And now it's being renamed and from administrative policy to a board policy because it's us setting how we're going to evaluate the superintendent. And we are just introducing it tonight. Director Olson, I know you had a question about not including or including annual. What we did was we aligned the language to we just said it's aligned to the contract of the superintendent. What Superintendent Cook and I agreed to in his last contract and that we approved is that he is evaluated formally each year, that we do a formal check-in twice a year in November and May, but that we also have a quarterly check-in as well. And so we have a pretty robust system right now that may or may not work for the next board chair superintendent. And so that was why we reflected it that way. But we can take feedback and we can discuss if we want to do it otherwise. Some districts choose to do because of the amount of time and how they do an evaluation, they choose to do it every other year. I am a proponent of active feedback and usable feedback, and it can't be formative if it's every 2 years. So that's why it's that way. Are there any questions or comments on what we've done so far? All right, great. Then we are going to move into, that will come back to us, but we will move into board comments, and we will start at the end with Director Olson.
Thank you. I would just like to do a very quick call out for the people sitting in the audience, Katie and Juan and Lisa and Tammy. who did a superb job on the leadership launch in terms of leading and modeling good leadership roles with all of their teams. Thank you, guys. It was very good. And I think the acceptance level was extremely positive. Everybody was nodding their heads. I think, Steve, the idea of some level of, a little more level of consistency and thinking of our kids who do move around, especially now with the whole housing issue. All of those things, I think, have become very aware at the principal and school level. So I think they're ready, and they're ready to do the work. And that was also very heartening to see all of our administrators go, yeah, okay, we can do this. And still allowing them a chance for some, what'd you call it, Katie? You said flair? Or Tammy did, right? Flair, an individual school flair on some things. So, thank you.
Just briefly, I would like to thank everybody who's participating in the, I'm not sure what the task force title is. Is it behavioral or culture task force? Climate and culture, thank you. Yes, I'm very grateful for folks who are collaborating on the Climate and Culture Task Force and carrying that momentum through summer. I know that's not easy. And then also I want to commend the Student Voice Council, particularly the three, Wes, Stevie, and Essie, who showed up today on their summer evening to share. And excited that that's happening, so thank you.
Ditto to everything my colleagues already said. Nothing more from me tonight. Thanks.
Nothing from me.
All right, I have a couple. First, I want to echo what Director Olson said about the admin kickoff. It was fantastic for the part that I was able to go to. Thank you to everybody. I also want to apologize to all of the operations team that was at the leadership kickoff, because I went in just like last week with meeting with principals, all of our new principals, and went into that like they were all principals. I see you. I appreciate you, the transportation department, the nutrition services, maintenance, building, finance, human resources. When we talk IT, when we talk about aligning and like having a board goal around operations, aligning to the goals we want to get to and how we want to nourish our children, we are talking about you. And I sincerely apologize for not saying that this morning. Because you're at the heart of everything we do. Second, I want to appreciate my husband, Sanjay Dalakia. Tonight is my 25th wedding anniversary, and I am here. And so I appreciate his understanding that allows me to be here with you. And that last, I have a very special appreciation, and that is for Skip Offenhauser, who is going to be retiring. He officially retired. He's finishing out this month. It seems like maybe we're going to get some contracting time from him. But you know, the pandemic was so incredibly hard. And over and over and over again, I credit two things with why Ben Lapine was so well poised to weather it. One is the strong relationships with our associations that allowed us to keep people safe, but also get kids back to our buildings earlier than any other big district. And the second thing, equally if not more important, is that we had a strong instructional technology department and instructional curriculum and technology department, and that was Skip's doing. The fact that we had one-on-one technology in the hands of our 3rd through 12th graders, the fact that we were already using different software programs, the fact that we didn't have it all right, you know, but it did like a silver lining. We got to come out with Canvas on the other end. Skip has left his mark not just in our elementary education departments, in our elementary schools, but in how we do things. And so Skip, we have from the board a gift for you. It is a little bit of old school to take you into your new era.
Thank you. It's just been my pleasure to serve Ben Lapine and serve all the kids and families here. And, you know, I tell everybody, you know, I enjoyed coming to work every single day. Not that I had a great day every day, but every day I woke up, I enjoyed coming. And part of it was just the work we were all doing and just the people. So I'm going to miss all of you, and hopefully I'll have some do have some opportunities ahead of to still help out and do some things and wrap up some work, and I'm looking forward to that. So thank you for everything you do. So, and good luck to everyone.
Oh, there's a gift receipt in there in case it's the wrong size, because, you know, fitted.
Could we ask him to open it? Could we ask him to open it? He is opening it. Excellent.
Dodgers jersey from her boyfriend, and I said, "Get that out of this house." This is a San Diego cap. Thank you so much.
All right. Our next meeting is a board retreat scheduled for August 22, 2023, and our next regular business meeting is scheduled for September 12th, 2023. With that said, this meeting is adjourned.